what's in the best interest of the United States, but also the world in cases of foreign policy like this. Ed.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. So, is there a time frame as to when the first oil tanker can go through the Strait of Hormuz freely?
It's a very good question, Ed. I don't have a specific timeline for you today, but it's obviously something the administration is working towards as quickly as we can. And with respect to oil, as you know, the administration has taken a number of actions to stabilize the markets. We directed the U.S. DFC to offer reasonably priced political risk insurance for takers through the strait. We issued that temporary waiver to allow countries to purchase sanctioned Russian oil to alleviate global pressures. We're working with the IEA to coordinate the release of another 400 million barrels. We issued that 60-day Jones Day Act waiver. And then just today, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, if you missed it, in consultation with the Department of Energy, announced a temporary emergency fuel waiver to allow nationwide sales of E15, gasoline blended with 15% ethanol, to remove all federal impediments to selling E10 gasoline across the country. The emergency fuel waiver will temporarily waive the summer low volatility requirements and blending limitations for gasoline to provide additional flexibility to the fuel marketplace. So as far as tankers through the strait, something we're tracking very closely, but obviously the administration is coming up with creative new solutions by the day to keep the price of oil stable, something the president wants to see. And I know Secretary Bessent, Secretary Wright, Secretary Burgum, EPA Administrator Zeldin are all working together closely to find ways to do that.
The president gave that 5-day timeline for pause in operations. Would a tanker going through the Strait of Hormuz be one of the conditions that he would extend that?
That's only something the President of the United States can answer. I won't get ahead of him.
How about on TSA? Can I ask you about the TSA lines?
Sure.
Are the TSA lines, we've all seen the video of that from various airports, is that going to be what ends the stalemate in Congress to get DHS funded?
Well, look, it's the Democrats who have led to this stalemate over the past 6 weeks. The president and the Republicans' position has been very clear. Fund the Department of Homeland Security. And we have attempted in good faith numerous times, both the president himself and lawmakers on the Republican side on Capitol Hill, to go to the Democrats with reasonable offers, with real solutions. They'll ask for something, we'll give them that concession, and then they say, oh wait, that's not enough, actually. So I think that's why I said earlier, the cruelty is the point. They want this chaos. They want to distract, I think, from the success of our military overseas right now, totally obliterating the Iranian regime. And it's very unfortunate because there's only, the only people that are suffering from this are the American people. And I hear that Democrats might be flying out of town tomorrow. How convenient and lovely of them that they get to go to the airport and that they'll get to go home to their families when you have families, TSA workers who are suffering. You have people across the country who are missing flights for funerals and for work commitments because of Democrat politicians on Capitol Hill. Mary, in the back.
Thanks, Caroline.
Glad to see you have a seat now.
I do. Thank you. Is the White House satisfied with Republican leadership's efforts on the Save America Act?
I think the president has made it very clear. He wants everyone on Capitol Hill to move as quickly as possible to get the Save America Act passed, and he wants to see that legislation on his desk as soon as Republicans and Democrats can move to pass it.
But are there any lawmakers in Congress that the president is frustrated with on this matter and feels could be doing a better job?
I think the president wants to see everybody on Capitol Hill move faster all the time. That he wants everyone in this town to work at Trump speed like we do here at the White House. We'll go to Karen.
Caroline, two questions on Lebanon, if I can. Is the U.S. providing support at this point for Israel's ongoing offensive in Lebanon? And is the president concerned that right now there are more than 1 million people who've been displaced and potentially could be for a significant amount of time?
That's not something I'm in a position to comment on. For the first question, to the second question, of course, that's something that would concern the president. I think that's why he's again quickly moving to eliminate the threat of the Iranian regime in the Middle East, including weakening their proxies like Hezbollah, who have terrorized Lebanon for far too long. And I know that the president wants to see this, again, move as quickly as possible as we can over the course of the next couple of weeks here.
Kristen. Caroline. A question about the Strait of Hormuz. If these negotiations are not successful, is the only option to reopen the strait in boots on the ground, given that all of our allies have essentially said that they are unable or unwilling to help?
Look, that's a hypothetical question. It's a hypothetical question. It's also a decision that would have to be made by the commander-in-chief, and I'm not going to get ahead of him.
And in addition to that, when it comes to the Vice President, J.D. Vance, what has changed that has made him more of an active participant in these negotiations with Iran?
I don't think anything has changed. The Vice President has always been a key member, the President's right-hand man, and a key member of the President's national security team. He's been part of these discussions throughout this entire course of the administration with respect, again, to the 12-day war that the President and his national security team negotiated a solution to, with respect to the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza and the release of the hostages, which there was a lot of criticism that couldn't get done, and it did. The Vice President has been by the President's side every step of the way, and any reporting otherwise is just completely false. I see him in the room. Again, the President seeks his counsel on all matters, both foreign and domestic.
Can you just tell us who exactly the U.S. is negotiating with in Iran, and why the U.S. and this administration trusts that person?
Again, as I said to Gabe's question earlier, we're not going to get into the details of these negotiations and conversations that continue to take place. As of course you can imagine, they are very sensitive diplomatic discussions. And I would reiterate, I do recall giving all of you the same answer when we were negotiating the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza. Gave you the same answer throughout the 12-day war between Iran and Israel. Gave you the same answer with respect to many of the other global conflicts that this administration has negotiated solutions to. President Trump is going to give his diplomats the freedom that they need to have these sensitive diplomatic discussions without negotiating and litigating them through the news media. Fran.
Caroline, just to follow up though, because you said that some of the information that's been out there about the 15-point plan is inaccurate, can you say what is accurate with respect to ballistic missiles, the nuclear ambitions, and the Strait of Hormuz, which are things that the president has laid out that he wants to see a couple times in the past?
Look, if you've heard it from the President of the United States, obviously it's true, as well as the objectives of Operation Epic Fury. We've said repeatedly, I've said them from this podium, the Pentagon has reiterated them. That's why we've taken military action to achieve them. So of course, those are goals that we want to see, but this full 15-point plan that's been floating around in many of your outlets, there's a lot of misinformation to that as well. And again, I would caution you from taking things from anonymous sources rather than verifying them directly with the White House. Christian.
Thanks, Caroline. Two on Iran. First, would the president consider loosening asylum restrictions for Iranians trying to flee the country right now?
Again, that's a question for the president. I won't get ahead of him on that. I haven't talked to him about that.
Okay. And then secondly, you mentioned at the top that Iran would be hit harder than they have been to this point if they don't recognize the fact that they're losing this war. Could those strikes happen before this 5-day negotiating window closes if the president doesn't think they're negotiating in good faith?
You're asking me to tell you if the commander-in-chief would authorize very strong strikes against the Iranian regime. That's not something I would ever reveal from this podium, true or not. Phil.
Here, in the back.
Thank you.